Welcome to our webinar today, Marketing Your R&D Tax Services, Getting It Right. I am so sorry for the ever so slight delay there just now. We did have a couple of technical difficulties, but fingers crossed those are all sorted now, and we're very happy to have you with us. So let's get started. Judging by the size of the audience today, this does feel like it must be quite a hot topic. So I'm really happy to be delivering this session today. The R&D tax sector has faced many recent challenges, that's a definite understatement, but this is making it crucial for accountancy firms to be able to support SMEs in accessing the scheme. However, we do understand that the complexity and time involved in offering this service can be daunting, especially if you don't have the right tools and strategies in place. Now, with new legislation and evolving HMRC compliance, SMEs are increasingly looking to their accountants for help, and now more than ever, firms need to step up to meet this demand. But even with the right tools to deliver, attracting new business and communicating your existing sorts of services to your existing client base can also be a challenge. Now, we often get asked by our customers how best to market R&D tax services to our customers, and it is a fantastic question, but it is not exactly our area of expertise. And that is why we're so excited to have partnered with Jo Edwards, MD of JE Consulting, for today's session. Jo is going to be sharing her valuable insights on how to promote your services effectively and build a sustainable pipeline for growth. Jo, hi there. Do you want to give us a quick intro into JE?
I will do. Thanks very much, Suze. Yeah, and thanks for inviting me to join the webinar. So in a nutshell, we're a full-service marketing agency supporting the accountancy industry. We work with about 140 firms across the UK at the moment. Team of 27, all based in the Midlands, as you can probably tell from my accent. But we're doing everything from websites to social media to events, all sorts of things. So yeah, hopefully, and again, supporting their R&D marketing. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to share some of the things that are really working for some of our clients.
Super, thanks, Jo. We're really looking forward to that. And joining Jo is our co-founder and ops director here at WhisperClaims, Jen Badger. We've got some customers on the session today, so any of our customers joining us today will know Jen very well. Jen heads up our advice line support team, amongst many other things. And Jen is right at the heart of what's happening in the R&D tax sector. So she has a unique perspective on the current landscape. She's going to be sharing her observations from the front line and covering off the challenges accountancy firms are facing in today's space. Jen, do you want to just give us a quick intro into WhisperClaims?
Yep, absolutely. I just want to point out that much as Sue says I'm in the middle of what's happening in R&D, none of it is my fault. I'm just watching it all happen. Yeah, so obviously WhisperClaims is a software package that you can use to prepare R&D claims, but we are much more than just our software. We have our advice line that we can support clients. We have a whole load of other sort of support tools and materials to help people really get confidence and push through claims efficiently and in an optimal way with all of your processes.
Fantastic, thank you, Jen. So to get together, Jen and Jo today are going to be discussing how to navigate these hurdles that we're talking about and highlight the many opportunities available for proactive and forward-thinking firms like yours. We have some time at the end of the session for a Q&A today, so please do get your questions ready for the panel. And as part of this event, we've collaborated with Jo and her team and written a helpful ebook that's going to cover off essentially your roadmap to implementing some of the strategies that are going to be discussed today. And we'll share that link with you at the end of the session. So over to you, Jen and Jo.
Thanks, Suze.
Thanks, Suze. So obviously, as Sue says, Jo, there has been huge challenges in the R&D tax relief sector over the last couple of years. Everything from HMRC's increased compliance activity to all of the massive changes of legislation and all of that kind of thing. Just very hot off the press. I literally picked this up like 10 minutes ago. HMRC released their yearly stats on R&D this morning. And that's showing a 21% decrease in the number of claims going through. So we've seen a huge impact on the number of claims. Interestingly, the total benefits has actually gone up ever so slightly. So what we're seeing is a shift away from small claims to bigger claims, which we can kind of touch on later. But obviously that's a really good reflection on what has happened in the R&D market over the last couple of years. So given all of that backdrop, Jo, I think there's still reasons why a firm would want to continue to offer R&D tax expertise to their clients. So if the clients you work with, what are their reasons for active promotion of their R&D tax relief service?
I think there are a number of reasons. I guess the biggest one really is, you know, there is a requirement for them to give their clients the most, you know, I know this is a word that's overused, that proactive service that they possibly can. And I think the majority of, you know, firms that we work with specifically will say that we owe it to our clients to ensure that they, you know, take advantage of every tax opportunity that they possibly can, that we mitigate their tax liabilities at every opportunity. And just to withdraw from, you know, even having the conversation about R&D, I think some firms would actually consider themselves a little bit negligent in doing that. So that might sound a bit hard, but you know, if you've got clients that fall into the R&D space and you're not having that conversation with them in a very authoritative manner, I think I would say that we're doing them a little bit of a disservice. What I'd throw into that as well is the you know, I appreciate the changes, you know, the AIF form, the merger of the two schemes, the massive increase in HMRC inquiries, and the landscape being blighted a little bit by, you know, the rogue outfits, has made the taste of R&D a little bit sour for some firms, but they are capitalising, I guess, on some of that changed landscape by saying, well, if you've had a, you know, if you've had a bad experience with, you know, a rogue outfit, or they've picked up businesses that have got inquiries where their existing accountancy firm just doesn't want to deal with it, they've shown themselves to be, you know, experts in their field. And I think, you know, as I come back to that key line I mentioned earlier, it's you owe your client a duty of care, and a duty of care means to, you know, ensure that they take advantage of every tax opportunity, and R&D really falls into that bracket. So
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I think in a week where we've seen actual arrests being made for outright fraud, potentially outright fraud in R&D, I think that duty of care is so important to, even if all you're doing is protecting your client from being sucked in by these actually fraudulent companies, it is very, very important.
I think you can also have a bit of a win-win here in that you create a differentiator as well. So, you know, if you're willing to be out there front and centre to say, you know, we can handle R&D claims effectively and compliantly, with integrity, you know, you put yourself, you know, on the front foot with businesses in that space where existing firms have shied away from even wanting to promote the fact that they offer R&D services. So I think there's a real opportunity to, you know, it's opportunity and adversity, isn't it? But it's an opportunity to put yourself on the front foot in terms of your tax expertise as well.
Absolutely. So what do you feel is the most important thing to consider, to remember, if you want to launch or even relaunch your R&D service to clients? And how would you suggest people get started in doing that?
I think if you're launching it, for, let's assume I'm going to take this in two bites really. So let's assume that you've decided as a firm that you really want to promote your R&D expertise. It's not something that you've really pushed out proactively before. It's maybe been mentioned by the partner at the end of year review with a client or whatever it might be, and you hide that light under a bush before. I think if you're going out there to say, actually, we do want to set a differentiator and we do want to put ourselves front and centre on being able to handle that, the first place I would look is your website. So, you know, if you're going to be driving interest and engagement on that subject, you need to make sure that your website is robust enough in its content relating to R&D. You need to be, you know, the landing page on the website needs good content. It probably needs useful information. It needs to profile the expert within your practice that would lead an R&D project. Maybe even some video content. So what business owners will be looking for is that sense of A, credibility, and B, reassurance that they're dealing with a firm that know their stuff, and don't fall into that kind of, rogue boutique mode. So the website is the first place to go if you're launching for the first time a proactive R&D service. I think my next step will be reassurance for the client that actually making an R&D claim is a good thing. So some clients might have been stung in the past, might actually be really, unsure as to whether they're a business that falls into the R&D category. So you want that content to give lots of reassurance that they can talk to you about it. You'll discuss the opportunities with them. They may or may not qualify, and if they don't, you'll be upfront and honest about it. So I think integrity is at the forefront of that web content, and reassurance is at the forefront of that. When you move on from those foundations being in place, you've got to back it up then with proof statements. And proof statements are, case studies with clients that you already work with and have made successful R&D claims for them. Ideally do an interview with them, get them to talk about their experience of working with you, how you've helped them through the process, the successful outcome that they've had as a result of doing that, and getting those quotes and case studies put together, and then backing that up on the website with those proof statements. And of course you can then use those in social media content, and you can use them in any brochure material that you might have. So the foundations for me are vital before you even start promoting. When you've got that together, you need to look at the buyer persona of your potential audience. So we all know that not every business is a business that can go down the R&D route. That there's qualifying criteria, as we all know. I'm not teaching any of your clients how to suck eggs here, we all know this, but it's important when it comes down to the channels that you use then to actually reach out to both your existing client base but also your potential client base. And it's ensuring that promotional activity is actually hitting the right audience. So I'll give you an example. If you've identified that your audience, where you've got some really great case studies, sits in the manufacturing arena, should we be using Facebook, as a way of reaching out to the manufacturing industry? Probably not. So it's understanding where the sandpit is that potential audience actually plays in. So is a social media channel the right route for you? Should we be doing lots of social media content? Should we be doing maybe social media advertising to that audience? But it's no good doing it if it's just creating noise and there's nobody there to listen to it. So it's understanding that buyer persona and the communication channels that they prefer to engage with. And you've got to do a bit of market research here to understand where to position your messaging.
Sorry to interrupt there, Jo. That wasn't it, Jen? That was something that was quite key to us when WhisperClaims was getting off, wasn't it? Because we were definitely in that space where, new startup, you're trying to attract as many customers as possible from as many different places as possible. But I think it took maybe just a bit of time to understand that we had to really identify out of the subset of customers that we had, which were the ones that were really good customers and the ones that we wanted to try and get more of. And it wasn't until we got to that point and identified who our best looking customer looked like, what good looked like, that we were then able to really target, our messaging and then attract more of those types of customers. So that was a moment for us as a business.
I think that's the clever bit of marketing, though, isn't it? You're positioning relevant content to relevant people rather than just creating noise, as I mentioned earlier.
So obviously, when we talk about buyer personas, I know that, as Suze mentions, when we were first starting out, we did a lot of kind of different exercises to work out that buyer persona. Is that something you could expand on a bit here? And here I am with like, I know we've got technical issues, so I'm not sure whether we can show the slides, but
Yeah.
I'll let you do that.
Okay, so let me just get this up. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so if I just share this, I'm hoping that's worked. Okay. So this is a template for a buyer persona. So I've just called this chap Gabriel Messer, but this could be, you know, manufacturing business owner. Yeah, you don't have to give it names. I just like to humanize it a little bit. But what you want to understand here is, and this is where knowledge of your existing clients is really helpful, because you'll know from the manufacturing company, I'm just using this as an example, you'll know from the manufacturing companies that you already deal with, what's the likely, you know, demographic. So in terms of, you know, age profile, income profile, is the split between male and female business owner equal? Is it mainly a male dominated industry? And that's using your knowledge of that market. If you're breaking into a new market and you don't really understand the demographics, then you need to go and do some market research on that industry sector. So our first point of call would usually be the Office of National Statistics, who are very helpful usually in providing demographic information on industry sectors. But it's quite important that you understand, you know, the look and feel of the individual that you're going to be selling to effectively. The next bit, which is probably the harder one, is the identifiers, which is understanding their communication preferences. So if you don't know, because you don't have enough clients to ask, yeah, then you've got to do a bit of research on the social media platforms. So all the social media platforms will have advertising tools on there, and the advertising tools, without spending any budget on advertising, give you all of this information. So I could go on to LinkedIn, for example, and say, let me try and give me an understanding of how many business owners are active on LinkedIn in this particular industry sector. And LinkedIn will show you how many profiles there are in your geography. I'm doing this on the fly. Would you like me to go into LinkedIn and show you how to do that? Because it's quite useful
that'd be really interesting.
to understand. Yeah. Okay, right. Bear with me 1 second, because I'll need to come out of here and go into LinkedIn. I shouldn't do these things on the fly. That's really naughty. But I'll have a go at doing it. While I'm getting that up, I think one of the other things to think about in the identifiers that you can see here is understanding what the challenges are that business owner has with their business and meeting their goals. And again, this comes back to understanding the challenges you've had with your own client or clients in that space. If you don't know what those challenges are, you're going to need to speak to some manufacturing companies and find out what those challenges are. So it's always easier to go for sectors that you know. And then you need to be looking at what can we do to help them with their pain points in that business, to help them overcome those challenges that they might have in putting forward an R&D claim. So yeah, just make it very, very personal to the sector that you want to go after. So let me just stop sharing this and I'll go into LinkedIn. So I'm hoping you can see that okay. All right. So LinkedIn is a tool that's got obviously millions of profiles and millions of pages of content. So I'm just going to search for the moment for managing director. I'm putting it in quote marks because I want to be very specific here. And if I search on managing director and I'm looking at people, yeah, I'm using the free version of LinkedIn here, by the way. I'm not using a premium version or anything like that. So, okay, there are millions of managing directors around the world. So I've got to hone this down a little bit because no way can I approach that many, and it's really not a good idea. So on the free version, I probably only want to look for people that I've got a second connection to, because if I'm already connected to them, I don't need to connect with them again. Yeah. But I might be doing a bit of market research. So I want to know how many there are. So let's go first and second. All right. And the reason I've done that is because on the free version, that list will allow me to actually connect to them. So if I can't connect to them, there's no point in me having them on my list necessarily. Again, go back into the mode of, well, actually, I'm looking for market research here, not necessarily for people I can connect to. So I might want to go for all of them. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'm getting big numbers again, which is fine. Now, what we want to look at here is locations. So let's assume for the minute that I'm based in London. Yeah. So just give me managing directors that are actually based in London. Okay, so now I'm down to 218,000 managing directors, but this could be any business. So LinkedIn will now allow you to filter even further with this all filters option. And what I wanted to look here is a particular industry sector. So if I say add an industry and just give me manufacturing, yeah, it will give me lots of different types of manufacturing. So I'm just going to take it as a whole and show the results. So now I'm seeing I've got 15,000 managing directors of manufacturing businesses in London that I could approach with my R&D service, potentially. Yeah. If you just look at the seconds, the ones that I could actually connect with if I wanted to start doing some work now. Let me just get rid of first and let third. Yeah. So now it's saying actually, just get a second up, sorry. There's 1,300 on there that I can connect with completely free on LinkedIn. Yeah. So that might be my starting point, is to say, okay, well, my market research shows me there's 15,000 manufacturing managing directors in the London area. I could hone that down to just be specific to food and drink or other types of manufacturing sectors. But there's a market. Yeah. So LinkedIn, yeah, in my marketing plan now is definitely on, it's definitely in my plan because I know I've got a bulk of people there that I can go up with. It's a sandpit that they play in. Yeah. Now you can do this same exercise in a various form on Facebook, on Instagram, X wouldn't even bother. TikTok for manufacturing wouldn't even bother. Yeah. My gut feel is this is probably the better area to focus your attention, but I wouldn't dismiss Facebook. I'd go and have a look and just see what the market size is on Facebook. Yeah. So there's lots of ways of getting the market research pulled together and lots of ways of doing it for free. LinkedIn, Facebook will let you do it for free, and Office of National Statistics will give you information on that industry. You might have to pay a nominal fee for it, but that's where you'll get it. So I hope that was useful.
Oh, that was amazing.
Okay.
And I'm assuming it's not a static process. So you'll have your initial kind of draft persona, and then you can go out and do the market research, potentially run some campaigns. And I'm assuming you then take whatever feedback you get from those campaigns and refine that persona further.
Correct. Yeah.
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 Okay.
You might start to find that your experience is showing that, you know, those in the you know, food and drink industry, again, I'm picking just picking an example at random, you know, have more scope for R&D than those in, you know, metal bashing, for example. So you'll start to hone that persona down to be, you know, quite niche within a niche as you go along. Yeah. But it's important to do because you can end up spending a lot of your marketing budget, as I say, creating noise that all looks and sounds great, but it's just not hitting the right person. Okay.
And would you recommend people develop multiple personas or focusing on one at a time?
I think, again, this comes down to, are we looking to promote R&D to our existing client base, or are we looking to promote our R&D services to prospects? So with the clients, again, you've got to split it split the two out, and with clients, I'd start off with a gap analysis. So here's our clients, yeah, this is the industry sector that they operate in. These are our R&D clients, and these are the industry sectors that they operate in, and do the gap analysis. So you should end up with a list where there might be clients that haven't been spoken to about R&D, and there might be an opportunity to have that conversation with them. And again, that's a discussion then with partner director that looks after the client to say, have we done that? Is it worth us reaching out to that client with some marketing collateral and say, maybe we need to have a think and a discussion about this? So that's quite easy. It's just the legwork is not so easy, but getting at them is probably easier than anything else. I think then I would probably, there's no probably about it, I would go by industry sector with R&D.
Okay.
It's very different from your kind of general compliance services, where you can do a bit more of a one size fits all. R&D, you end up sending lots of irrelevant content to people that just are not relevant for R&D. Yeah, and that doesn't make you look good at all.
Cool. So just kind of moving to a slightly different subject, something that we've seen in response to a lot of the change of the last couple of years is people are changing their fee structures around R&D. So obviously, traditionally, when I started out doing this more years ago, to like to remember, it was all contingent fees. Everything was a percentage of the benefit received, and quite hefty fees. We were looking at kind of up to 33% sometimes. So, and what we've seen really is there's fewer and fewer firms charging contingent fees. A lot of that's to do with HMRC banning nominations and assignments, which made contingent fees a lot easier to actually get out of the clients. And we're definitely seeing a move towards more fixed fee services. So focusing on, I will do this work for you for this cost, not I will get you this much benefit and I will take a percentage of that. So I kind of focusing on the input that you have for your client rather than the output. I don't know if that reflects your general experience of how kind of the people you work with price a service, but how important do you think it is to have worked out your fees and include that in your marketing messaging?
It's important for sure, yeah. And I think just backing up your comment there, we've seen a decline on contingent fees. There's a definite shift away from doing that, and I think that's because that kind of that pricing structure has been really muddied by some of the boutique outfits. And there's a preference really now for fixed fee pricing for R&D services. I think it aligns well with a focus on outcomes rather than outputs, and clients prefer that, and they get the clarity, predictability that advisors that they want from their advisors. So I think a preference for fixed fee is definitely more accepted now. I think other than that, I mean, can firms go down the hourly rate? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think again, as long as you've got your messaging right in terms of the, I come back to that R&D, delivered with, the integrity is really important. And it's the client understanding that they've actually got a chance with the claim. Yeah. Being more prepared to pay for an hourly rate or a fixed fee than being prepared to pay on the percentage of the output. Yeah.
Okay. That's where tools like WhisperClaims comes in as well, is being able to provide efficiency within firms to enable a clearer ability to see how long an end-to-end process is going to take, and building in efficiencies for things like the additional information form, which without certain levels of can take, be an administrative burden, which then adds to the kind of more daunting and overwhelming side of things. And even just the value of being able to say no as well, having the right tools in place and strategies in place. I think, Jen, you might be talking about this in a bit, but I'll leave you to talk more about that if you want. But just about having rigorous processes in place to, as you've touched on already, Joe, be that trusted advisor to your client, to be acting with integrity and offer honest, responsible answers. And if it is a no on this occasion for this financial period, being able to demonstrate really clearly using software tools and in-house tools to help your client along the way and help them really understand why it's a no on this occasion, and that just builds stronger relationships as well with your client, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In terms of just slight aside, because I find it interesting, something that we debated quite a lot was whether we put our pricing on our website and how open we should be about pricing. And I know that I spend a lot of time on accountants' websites, and they generally don't publish pricing for totally understandable reasons. How important is it, do you think, to be publicly open about your pricing in terms of your R&D service and getting your message out there?
I think personally, if I was advising a client, I'd say it's okay to be transparent on the fact that you do not price on a percentage of the claim, that you actually price on fixed fee or hourly rate for this reason, and you give that reason why. Would I put an hourly rate or an average fixed fee? No, absolutely no, I wouldn't, because again, when it comes to this, valuable added value service, there's never one size fits all in this. And if it's a new client versus an existing client where you've got some knowledge of their modus operandi, it makes it even more difficult, because you don't know who you're dealing with, you don't know how cooperative they're going to be, how they're going to get the information to you, and it could turn into a real nightmare. So in terms of actually putting pound notes on the website, no, but in terms of how your pricing structure works and why, yes. Yeah.
That was just for my own interest more than anything. So kind of building on all of this, what other kind of marketing tactics would you say should be part of like a marketing campaign, some kind of promotion around R&D tax relief?
Okay, so this is there's never a single magic wand in marketing, sadly. If there was, I think we'd all find out what it was and go and spend our life on a beach in Barbados, wouldn't we? But you've got to do a mix of activity, because different types of activity will resonate with different people. So even with your audience persona, you still have to engage with an individual, and people respond to different things in different ways. So for me, there's a whole mix of different things that you can do, from obviously your digital footprint and your social media footprint, your email marketing, to more personal face-to-face type activity. And I always use the analogy of, when you've got a very specialist service like this and you want to put yourself front and center and a differentiator to other firms that are not doing it, you've got to make yourself slightly famous in that market. And to make yourself slightly famous, you've got to become an educator and a thought leader in that. So that means putting out content on the website, on your social media channels, delivering, webinars or in-person events where you're delivering that R&D thought leadership content. So, the educator is all about teaching, informers about keeping them up to date with relevant information as new legislation comes through and so on. But ultimately, I come back to those proof statements. The more clients that you can get saying good things about your R&D service and being able to use those publicly will have more impact than a sales and marketing message going out on an e-shop. Yeah. So spend time developing that kind of collateral, and then use all of your different channels to get that information out to them. So there are lots of different things to think about getting them into the funnel, of considering using you. So digital content, social media content, social media advertising. Think about Google pay-per-click advertising. We've had some great results from running PPC campaigns where businesses have been looking for R&D tax advice. So consider that. If you're able to get speaking opportunities at business networking groups locally, then great, go for that. And ensure that your organic SEO is good. People often don't engage with sponsored ads. They like to see whoever's on page one organically being the trusted person to go to. So you need to focus your website SEO on your R&D keywords as well.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. When you're working through these promotions and you're kind of thinking about your messaging, what do you think about the difference between promoting your expert, so whoever it is that does the R&D, the person you think is an expert, as opposed to your service within R&D?
I think they both have to be done equally.
Okay.
Yeah. So you want your expert to become the go-to R&D person. Yeah. And that comes down to the educator role as well. Good thought leadership content going out, relevant content going out, lots of good updates going out. Your clients then become your best salespeople for you. So when you've done a good job for a client on R&D, you need to get them to give you a good review on Google, for example. If they don't want to do a case study, if they want to do a case study, but just want to be interviewed over the phone, that's fine. You write something up. If they're a client that's willing to do a video on their R&D and chat with you about it on video, even better. It's likely to get more engagement than anything else. But ideally, you want the expert and the proof statements to work in parallel with each other. So your expert becomes the, industry rock star. Your clients become your best salespeople.
Brilliant. That's really good. I think I've reached the end of our questions we had, so I think we'll just need to give our attendees a quick chance to think about any questions they might have.
Okay.
I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to ask about, Suze.
Nothing from my perspective, I don't think, but that was so helpful. Thank you, Jo. And as we mentioned at the start, we have collaborated with Jo and her team to produce an ebook that takes you through even more of the strategies that Jo has had time to mention today. So just in a couple of seconds, I'll be sharing a link to that. And of course, for anybody in this sector, this will, if you're not already doing it, it will possibly seem very daunting. We've been there as a firm. We understand how hard some of these processes and things are, especially when it comes to creating content. I think like ebooks, for example, is something that we only started doing a couple of years ago, aren't they, Jen? And I think our first it felt like Mount Everest for us to climb, just to decide what content we were going to push out, what we were going to write about, would anybody even be interested in reading it, and now we've taken that on board as part of a sort of an ongoing strategy to be pushing out hopefully thought-provoking and informative and educational content to our audience. So it is hard, isn't it, Jo, to get into those modes of kind of putting time aside to dedicate to these types of things, as well as being maybe potentially overwhelmed with all the business and all the customer queries that you have. But it's important, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's there are huge opportunities here. I know some people might argue with me on that, but I believe that the clients we're working with, they've seen huge opportunities here. But yeah, you've got to that educator role that we talked about, which I know we cover a little bit in the ebook as well. When it comes to something so specialist as this, is really important. And if you've got the backup, of an organisation like yourselves that are kind of hand holding along the way in the background, it makes a massive difference, because again, you guys are producing lots of really good content that can really help firms get that message over.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think we've got our first question popped up. Okay. So thank you, Angelina. And she's saying, we've run PPC campaigns and had no luck, very low conversions and engagements. Any tips?
Probably lots, but I need to have a look at your PPC campaign and see what you're not doing. You're not doing well in there. I mean, Google pay-per-click has changed massively in terms of how you set up a campaign and you run a campaign. You've now got the ability to change the way that you create conversions as to whether you're converting driving people to your website versus brand awareness versus geo-targeting. And getting the keywords right in a PPC campaign is absolutely vital now to ensure that you maximise your spend and get that right, as is the advert copy. So I've probably got lots of tips, but I'd need to have a look at your PPC campaign to see what's not right with it, because you should have good conversions, you should have good engagement. It could be that the way that you've set the campaign up is not hitting the right audience, and that might be because it's going down the brand awareness route rather than not those looking for information, it's those that are actually ready to buy. And there's a bit of a difference in how you set your campaign up. But I'd happily have a look, Jelena, no problem.
You've got a big thank you there.
We'll give everyone just a couple of minutes just to identify if there's any other questions they want, but certainly we will be sending a follow-up out from today's session with an on-demand recording, and we'll also reiterate the link that I shared in the chat today to the ebook, and of course with contact details for us and Joe. Of course, if this is something that you just decide is not for you and you want to get help from a partner, that's what Joe's here for. So we'll be making sure that you have every opportunity to get in touch with Joe to engage with her services too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Malcolm. Okay, maybe we should call it and let everybody get back to their Thursday, because you're all being very quiet. So maybe we just give you so much information you're not sure what to ask, but that's okay. As I said, we'll be in touch with a follow-up. Thank you, Joe, ever so much for your time today. That's been absolutely super. And Jen, thank you so much for your time today as well. We hope to see you all again soon on another webinar, so keep an eye out for upcoming events, and enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.